Part 4 stamp. Dr. Megan Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's my pleasure to take a short call on Part 4. In particular, I want to talk to Clause 29 of the legislation, which is matters relating to the 2019 legislation, which in 29.1 says to avoid doubt, nothing in this Act prevents Environment Canterbury from taking any steps that it must under the Local Electric Act 2001 for the purposes of the 2019 election. And 2, however, Environment Canterbury must review its representation arrangements in accordance with Section 191 of that Act, irrespective of whether it would be mandatory for it to do so under the requirements of that section in relation to the 2019 election. And Mr. Chairman, this comes to some of the core concerns that Labor has about this legislation. And it's the "we've been here before" clause. That, of course, we have in the passage of this bill traversed the history of it, that the Environment Canterbury elected members were first sacked in 2010. The government made comments at the time saying that it may be as late as 2013 before we could have elected representatives back on Environment Canterbury. And then lo and behold, the 2013 triennial elections start to roll around and there's more legislation extending it out for another 3 years. So this clause here, Clause 29, does not give us any certainty that we are returning to elected representation and a full elected representation in 2019. We heard the Honourable Nick Smith earlier in the course of this committee stages feigning some kind of outrage that the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove had dared question whether it not had been the case. Well, he's got form, Mr. Chairman, that we have been here before, that we have seen elections delayed and pushed out despite what the reassurances were given to the people of Canterbury. And throughout the course of this debate, there's been an inconsistency and actually a lack of coherence in the logic that the government's ever used in relation to this legislation. That is, of course, when its members bother to even try and defend taking away people's debates. It's quite stunning that you can sit through a whole committee stage of a bill and not one Canterbury Member of Parliament will get on their feet and defend the fact that they're taking away the right to vote in their region and continuing that loss of democracy in their region, Mr. Chairman. But what we've had is the Minister throughout this when he's saying in terms of it's okay because Labor did it. Now that seems to be the kind of catch-all that National tries to use for everything. That he's used the examples of DHBs, he's pulled in the example of KIPRA, and he's pulled in the example of school boards that have been used in various places. But Mr. Chairman, never ever have we had elections delayed for 9 years, which is the case and what is entrenched in Clause 29 of this legislation. That it was first in 2010 that council was sacked. It would seem a long time if you had to wait a whole triennium to have them come into play at the next scheduled triennial election in 2013. That seemed massive to the people of Canterbury. The fact that that was pushed out by further legislation before that triennial election in 2013 and that we're now having another push out of it, not with a return to full democracy, as Cantabrians were led to was going to be the case in 2010, that they were going to return to by the time of the 2013 elections, and 6 years later we're debating here in this House tonight a clause of whether or not, please sir, can we please have it for the 2019 elections. This is just absurd, Mr. Chairman, and I have no faith that this will actually take place. We've seen the Cabinet papers where MPI are lobbying to have the current arrangement made permanent. This isn't a temporary arrangement in the minds of many of this government, and if I am wrong, I welcome a government member taking a call on this and putting our fears at ease and assuring us that there will indeed be no push to have this established as a permanent arrangement, because we know there's an irrigation agenda in here. This is backed up by the fact that MPI want to see this as a permanent arrangement in Canterbury. So what we have is the people of Canterbury should have no faith that even this mixed model was going to expire in 2019. We've heard it all before. We know that there's lobbying going on in the background, and there is no certainty that there will be fully democratic elections held at the next elections in 2019. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I call you